Sound affects everyday culture and sends a powerful message, particularly in advertising. It can be everything from that song that gets stuck in your head over the weekend to the jingle you loved growing up in childhood. It can even be a noisy intersection in the middle of New York City. Sound is all around us and is constantly evolving. On this episode of Unboxed, we're going to break down the history of audio and advertising with some of our network's leading experts and take a closer look at the creative process behind it. Siri, are you ready to watch the next episode of Unboxed?
Let's do it.
She's psyched.
First Sonic branded thing is like Pavlov's bell, or ring the bell and the dog comes, and the dog associated the bell with food, right? Just like I associate the Intel sound with computers or Rhapsody in Blue with United Airlines.
I think one of the foundations of sonic branding really began with radio.
It's really one of the most resilient mediums that are out there. It has survived all of these different iterations that have come out and challenged it.
Whether it be radio shows or commercials and things like jingles, the sonic component and having something consistent within those messages allowed for more ownability and recognizability with the audience over time.
It's adapted. It reaches 93% of all adults on a weekly basis. That's more than network television. Network television only reaches 87%. It's huge.
I feel like audio plays a huge role in connecting with people. Communication and advertising is all about that connection. I think what something sounds like plays a really important role on how you hook people and retain their attention.
We have a huge audio component to everything we do. Specifically for mnemonic devices, Droid is certainly one of the biggest that we've produced, and that's gone beyond even broadcast. It's ubiquitous.
Intel is a very powerful example. We did a creative marriage of the Intel mnemonic with Beethoven's Fifth Symphony and created this really interesting symbiotic musical relationship between those two very iconic signatures.
The way I like to describe it is a content layer, that what we're going to be building potentially in the future is there aren't search engines anymore. There are just content layers, and brands are going to have to build that. And those are going to be deep content experiences that are going to engage with people as they ask different questions through these devices. And then these personal assistants are going to gather that information. So now what you're looking at is advertising where you're actually marketing to a digital assistant versus a person.
I mean, to us, basically, are we looking at something that provides an underscore to something, or are we looking at something to really tell the story?
Creating that affinity for a brand with that voice content is really the next level of marketing that we're creating, and it's when you create a conversion that maybe necessarily isn't that direct conversion, but it's an engagement conversion.
As our devices get smarter, as our cars become able to understand and communicate with us, and the reason we need sonic branding in a world where we turn to voice communication with computers is potentially for authenticity of the messaging coming back, recollection. It could be used in unique ways.
The top line question is, through all the different components of the communication, what it looks like, what it says, what it sounds like, what's the takeaway? What's the information and what's the feeling?
Can you share your favorite jingle?
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Almond joys have nuts, mounds don't.
I'm a Flintstone kid, 10 million strong, and